myself added to the stage. All right, all right. Afternoon, everybody. It's January the 2nd. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. It's your friend, not your typical Negro. I'm live. As you know, I've been retired for a while, but you know, I gotta tap in. I felt the pull. I felt the pull to tap in. In this new year, I'm feeling the pull to come out of retirement. I've been told I need to come out of retirement. And I've been feeling the pull, but I'm not going to be before you long. But I want to talk about this. Everybody pretty much has heard about what's happening with this TD Jakes scandal. I'm not particularly that interested in it. When I started blogging here on YouTube, back in 2007, I focused on teachings, questionable, false teachings and practices in the church. At that time in my life, I was kind of beginning, they got all these new fancy names out now. They got these quote unquote Christian content creators. That's the name now for people that did what I and a handful of other people were doing back in 2006, 2007 here on YouTube specifically, but just on social media in general, and actually examining what was being taught in churches, challenging, not necessarily say challenge Creflo Dollar and say you're wrong, but per se, it wasn't, for me, it wasn't about calling Creflo Dollar to the carpet and challenging him and his authority or whatnot. It was about, okay, he's teaching this, he's writing these things in these books, he's having these conferences, and he's teaching certain things. Let's take a, and he's been teaching these things for years, and they don't seem to have made sense. They don't seem to work, or they don't seem to be questioned in the way that they should be questioned. So, me, in my own way, I took a more of a sort of like I guess you could say sort of like a more academic type approach sort of to it. In that I would take a video of Creflo Dollar preaching or teaching something, of him in context, play that video, and then let's look at what the Bible says in relation to what he's saying, or play a video of him saying something, and then play a video of what he said last week or what he said a year before on the same subject. Whether it be a prophecy, or maybe he taught something one way a year ago, and now a year later he's teaching something different, right? So, and it was particularly easy for me because Creflo Dollar was putting out a lot of material at the time. Kenneth Copeland, a lot of the prosperity preachers were, they were all on social media. So it was a lot of content to observe, right? So that's kind of what I started out doing, is taking their content, taking their words, and examining what they taught. I also did the same thing with my own pastor or former pastor at the time, because at that time when I started doing this on YouTube, I had just left a church. So I was in this period. So I was talking about these new terms that are out now for what I and a few colleagues were doing at the time. They're calling the content creation or Christian content creator. That's what people are doing now. I didn't name it that. I was just, again, it was like a project to me. Another term is what's the term that I wanted to address? I'm gonna jump into things in just a second. This term about man, I lost my train of thought. But there are names, new names and new ways people are doing things now that, again, that I was on the cutting edge of in 2007. There's if you heard of like Ringo for Life or Ringo TV, who else? It was a bunch of us at that time. Then after a few years of that, I hooked up with a bunch of people that were doing the same thing. I didn't know. I kind of connected with another little community, and there was another brother named TJ, a good friend of mine. He started a website called pimppreacher.com. So he was over here doing stuff with pimppreacher.com, and I was over here doing stuff on YouTube, and there were a couple other people on YouTube and other places doing things. We sort of kind of formed a little collective, and we did Church Folk Revolution Radio, which was a podcast. So we had the podcast, the website, and then we were still doing our individual blogging things. What I want to talk about today, or right now, because it's important, is apparently there's been a flurry of activity related to this T.D. Jakes controversy, right? So you all have heard about this controversy. I'm not going to really get into a bunch of it, except to say a lot of what is being said now about the T.D. Jakes scandal. I've heard these things for decades. Back when I started on YouTube in 2007, people would send me things about things going on in their church or in these particular ministries. Back then, I was doing a lot of videos addressing the teachings of like people like Juanita Bynum, Bishop Eddie Long, Creflo Dollar, and I heard a lot of things about T.D. Jakes that I guess could be considered credible. So the stuff I'm hearing now is nothing new. Bishop Eddie Long, that whole scandal. I'm based here in Atlanta, Georgia. I lived like 5 minutes from where his church was. And so I heard things for decades about a lot of stuff that eventually came out. So, my position is, I'm not particularly interested in a preacher's personal dealings, except in the case of where they're hurting other people. So most definitely if it's any type of sexual abuse or spiritual abuse. But my focus is mainly on what they teach, right? And what they teach publicly. All right. So that's kind of what the focus of my project was. Another, I guess, facet of my project was dealt with the issue of free speech, right? Let me put my old man glasses on. Hey, everybody, I see y'all in chat now. It dealt with the issue of free speech, which is kind of what I want to talk about as I get into this, this copyright strike issue. So when I would put up videos, there were a lot of complaints that were filed against my channel, claiming copyright infringement, right? So you put up a video, you criticize and critique a pastor. As I mentioned, my focus was on what they taught. I didn't talk about Creflo Dollar's cars and jets and suits and whatnot, or, Eddie Long's. I could have. There were other people that did that, but that wasn't my lane, right? But the point is, no matter how nice or professional, the point is there's a lot of vanity among these so-called prophetesses, pastors, preachers. There's a lot of vanity. They don't like anybody talking about them. And the key to their effectiveness is controlling the dialogue, controlling the conversation, right? So if you got somebody on social media that's critiquing them or giving a message different, or just questioning them in any way, and most certainly talking about them in any way, if it's anything other than praise, they got a problem with you. So what do they do? YouTube has a process where a person can go on and basically file a complaint and say, hey, this person is infringing on the copyright. I own the copyright to so you remember when I mentioned I would use video clips of Creflo Dollar, right? Well, they would say those video clips are copyrighted material and you're using it. Well, there's a principle in copyright law, and you can kind of look this up. but there's a provision under a copyright law called fair use, which says if you can use copyrighted material without permission in cases where you're using it for commentary, you're using it for education, you're using it for satire. There's like 4 categories where so what I was using their content for was squarely within that provision. Well, if the so-called copyright owner, or let's say if the ministry or a pastor doesn't like what you say about them, they can go on, file a complaint, and what YouTube would do is send you a notification, and your video would be hidden. And at that time, if you had 3 strikes, if you had 3 videos that were had strikes against them, those 3 strikes would result in your channel being completely shut down, which would mean you lose all your videos, etc. And I saw that happen to a number of people before it eventually happened to me. And so with that being the state of things, people could like strategically get your channel taken down by simply just filing 3 fake complaints back to back. Now, there's a flaw in the system in that virtually anybody can file a complaint and claiming that they're from, as in this case that I'm talking about, they can claim that they're from TD Jakes Ministries, but they actually are not. They're just a random supporter out there who doesn't like what some of these videos are saying. Happy New Year to you all, everyone. Salute everybody. They just will happen to not like what you're saying, so they take it upon themselves to defend their pastor or defend their favorite preacher, and they will go abuse the system in place at YouTube. They'll go in, put in a fake copyright strike, and get your channel down. Now, I'm going to tell you, so which brings me to the subject today, or what I want to bring to everyone's attention is that I am 99.9% sure that what has happened is that some random person has filed a fake copyright claims against those various videos that quite a few people have made about the TD Jakes scandal. And it is actually not TD Jakes Ministries or Potter's House. They actually did not file those copyright strikes. And I want to talk about how I know that, because this is something that happened to me a lot. So I'm experienced in dealing with copyright strikes on this platform. So I have, some experience to speak from. So I kind of want to do this as a service to the YouTube community, to the First Amendment right community, to the the Christian content creator community, and just to the general public, because general public relies on social media for information. It's important that sound, correct, reliable information is out there, and I want to do my part to contribute to that, so that people can make informed decisions. Now, I'm not a fan of TD Jakes, so somebody could be taking this as a defense of TD Jakes. This is not a defense of TD Jakes at all. This is a clarification, a defense of truth, and defense of First Amendment rights, and then it's also a defense for those of you who are people who are engaged in preaching and defending the gospel, defending truth, and want to who are involved in the ministry of apologetics, or you're involved in Christian teaching, and somehow you want to use TD Jakes as an example of something or whatever, or just in general. I just want to make sure that you have correct information, and that before you go after somebody, because there are a lot of videos out here saying TD Jakes shut down my channel, TD Jakes did a copyright strike against my channel. Well, you need to confirm that before you go putting somebody's name out there. And just, as a Christian, just because you believe somebody is a false teacher, or just because you believe somebody is a false prophet, and that doesn't mean that you can just do or say anything about them. Whatever you're doing with respect to ministry, and you want to reference TD Jakes somehow, you need to make sure that you do it in integrity, with some sense of integrity, and you coming from a place of truth when you do this. So I'm going to show you a few things, and then we're going to then I'm going to jump out of here. So I want to switch to let's see if we can get I want to share my screen. So let's see if we can do that first. All right, I'm going to share my screen. And let's talk first about, I'll put this over here. Okay, so when you search on Jake's copyright takedown, you come up with these, various videos. So some names I've been hearing out there is like Moxie approved. Okay, I don't know not Moxie approved, but apparently he's got a following. Smart Christian channel. Somebody else I heard about, Storm Monroe. I think Storm Monroe is he's the one who put out a video that is one of the most popular, got one of the most some of the most attention on this whole scandal. But this brother right here, this Prophet Abednego, I'm going to go to his video because his video includes an image of the copyright strike that he got, right? So I want to talk for a minute and educate you on when we talk about these copyright strikes, what they look. So this is what it looks like. So I'm going to pause him. Approval request based on copyright law, blah, blah, et cetera, right? Request issued by TD Jakes Ministries. Now, if you see sorry, I think I lost access to my microphone for a second. So anyway, so if you're looking at this copyright strike, you'll look at this and you'll see this request was issued by TD Jakes Ministries. This will make you think, hey, this came from TD Jakes Ministries. Okay. And then it also tells you contact info, pottershouseweb@gmail.com. Now, as the content, as the account, the subscriber, you have the ability to go elsewhere and see more detail and more information on this copyright strike. So in this case, he just, provided a partial screenshot, but there's more contact information on there. So I think there's like a phone number. There's other information on the complaint. You can see the entire complaint that was filled out by the person. So you see on here, it came from TD Jakes Ministries. Well, the reason that says that is because whoever filled out the complaint, they typed in TD Jakes Ministries. That does not mean that that person is actually from TD Jakes Ministries. All right, y'all got me? Okay, and then contact info, it says pottershouseweb@gmail.com. Okay. In this case, this is a piece of evidence that you can use to kind of confirm whether or not Once you review the complaint, the next step after you review the complaint is to confirm the complaint. That's what a person should do, right? A lot of people, I believe, did not go that next step. They just went by off of what they see here. TD Jakes Ministries, oh my God, right? But that's just there because somebody typed it in. And then contact info, this email address. That's there because somebody typed in that email address when they completed the form. But that does not mean that that email address is legitimate, right? So what you have to do is you have to do a little bit of work to find out, if it's legit or not. All right. So on my page, where is that? So this is just my page here where I've got a bunch of videos on here. This video right here, just that says Creflo Dollar orders Eddie Long's church members to go back. This is the video that got me shut down on YouTube. Some of you may or may not remember this, but this was when Eddie Long, the scandal broke out at Eddie Long's church here in Atlanta, in Metro Atlanta. And a bunch of people, when they, I guess, roughly 5 young men. And when he settled the case that weekend, or somewhere soon thereafter, a bunch of people left the church. A lot of those people went across town to Creflo Dollar's church to kind of attend, or right. That weekend, Creflo Dollar basically said, I know some of y'all here, but he basically told them they need to go back. He said, this is my friend, and y'all need to get back over there and do what you're supposed to do. When I made this video, published this video, I didn't think anything of it when I published this video. This is what got me shut down, right? Completely, all my videos were gone. So I said, well, damn it, videos are gone. I was like, oh, well, what am I going to do? So after a few months, I didn't think that there was anything I can do. I followed there's a dispute process where you can dispute the video. I covered the process that I follow because I want to wrap up here in a little bit. I covered the process of that I followed. There's another video on my channel called Battling Corrupt Bishops and Pastors Who Attack Free Speech. I did this video February 2013. So 10 years ago, I did this video. And I talk about the process, how I filed the lawsuit in this process to get my channel back up. Okay. And I also wrote a blog article. So if you search on video blogger sellers defamation breach of contract filed against YouTube, if you search that, you will find this article, and there you actually find a copy of the lawsuit that I filed. So this is the actual lawsuit that I filed, and I filed it in the state of California. YouTube called me 2 weeks later, and I settled that lawsuit. So this article talks about the whole process that I followed right here. It's got my government name on here and everything. So just let y'all know I'm not hiding from nobody. So you can contact me on Facebook. It's very easy to get in touch with me behind all this stuff. All right. So, but getting back to this, I talk about this copyright strike. I know just from experience that how to determine, fake or phony or legitimate email addresses. The Potter's House has a page called fraudulent accounts. So one of the things I did was I kind of went to their website, and what they explain here is that these are, their official accounts, right? So it ends in, Bishop Jakes, Sarita Jakes. These are their legitimate social media accounts. But there's a rule as far as email addresses. It's going to follow, the domain name, right? So an email address is going to be like info@thepottershouse.org. So anything ending with thepottershouse.org, that would be a legitimate email address, right? I searched the email address that's on that complaint, and notice there's only 2 entries that come back, right? And this is kind of evidence to kind of let you know that something is not legit, because if it was a legit email address, you would have, you know, you don't have more references on here indicating that it was legit. There was an actual email address that was active, right? But another thing is, if you do, I did some other research and I found that another legitimate email address that is related to the Jakes ministry is anything ending in tdjakes.org, right? So tdjakes.org, and then I think there's another one. What did I just mention? The pottershouse.org. Any email address ending with those 2, or I think they have another, but most certainly those 2. Those are legitimate ministry email addresses. This pottershouseweb@gmail.com, the ministry, those ministries, a ministry, especially a ministry is established as TD Jakes Ministry or Potter's House, they're not going to be using Gmail addresses. So off the rip, I know that that's fake, right? I searched the internet. There's this email address doesn't appear to be active. There's some other tools that I use, but the biggest point that I wanted to have people to get is that if you are a content creator and you get a copyright strike against your video, review that complaint and then confirm that complaint. Because again, anybody can go on here and say that they're from TD Jakes Ministries and put in a BS email address. I've seen this dozens of times on my videos. I mean, again, like I said, I've been on here since 2007. This has happened to me dozens of times. So this is nothing new to me. So I knew off the rip, as soon as I saw that email address, I knew this was fake, right? So I want, you know, the people to know out there, especially the content creators that are going to see this video. I just wanted to kind of walk you through some steps and kind of give you a little education on somebody who's been in the game and who has dealt with this before. You know, you want to be responsible when you're using copyrighted content, first of all. You know, make sure that it's within those prescribed allowed uses as the law states, right? And then, you know, if you do happen to get a copyright strike, review it, confirm it, and challenge it, right? Don't just say, well, they took my video down. Oh, well, I just make another video, or I just, you know, be active in protecting your right to speak and standing on your principles and your convictions, or, you know, whatever it is, the place you're coming from. You know, you want to, you know, when you put your word out there, you want to, you know, back your word up. And one of your ways you do that is, you know, by protecting your speech, by challenging any, you know, people that are saying that you're lying or that you're breaking the law. Because that's essentially when someone files a copyright strike against your video, they're saying that you are breaking the law. So it's important that you say, no, I'm not. Actually, you are breaking the law by filing this false complaint. All right. I think that is pretty much what I wanted to cover with you all today. Be on the lookout. I may be tapping in more often. All right. So share this video, like this video. If you got any questions or comments, of course you can contact me. I think Not Your Typical Negro at yahoo.com, or you can get me on Twitter or X now, or you can find me on Facebook, Kevin M. Oliver on Facebook. All right, everybody. Good talking with you. Not Your Typical Negro signing out.